Okay, hello everybody. Today I am privileged, I am honored, I am just so elated and happy to be interviewing my dear sister, Evangelist Glenda Williams Goodson. And I want to say that you're in for a super, super, super treat. And I am so thankful that I'm the one to be able to do this interview with her. She's a woman, and I think there's a cliche that says of many hats, okay? Many talents, many gifts that the Lord has blessed her with, and she is right here with us today. Hello, Evangelist Goodson, and we'll probably say Shirley and Glenda, which is fine with me if that's the way you want to do. We don't have to be formal. But I have questions that I want to ask you, and you answer at your discretion, your will, however you want to answer them, because any kind of answer you give will be a super good answer. And my word is supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. So
thank you for having me on. I'm honored. I'm honored.
Oh yes, well I'm honored too. So our first question, we're going to go kind of down the line on this questionnaire. So first we want to know, where were you born? And there are other little things in here and you can just answer like you want to. What day of the week were you born, night or day? Tell us something about that.
Okay, so I was born, I'm a July baby, July 15th, and I was born in Dallas. My father, originally from Houston, Galveston area, he didn't say Dallas, he said Dallas. I was born in Dallas, Texas. My mother and father, I don't know if it was night or day, but my mother and father, Elder Joseph Robert Williams and missionary Gladys Alexander Williams, were church planters in Dallas, Texas, and he planted the church in 1951, and so that's my family background.
Oh.
I have 10 brothers and sisters. There were 12 of us.
Okay. And so there are still 10 left? 10 of you left?
Actually, they raised one, died young. Let me tell you a story about, I love this story about my mom and dad.
Okay.
My mom and dad were married 6 or 7 years and they didn't have children. And my mom went to the convocation in Memphis, so that Bishop Mason, she said, I want Bishop Mason to pray for me to have children. Because as I said, they've been married 6 or 7 years, and when she came back from Memphis, she started having children. And when she started having them 2 by 2, her brother told her, you need to go back to Memphis and ask Bishop Mason to pray for you again so you can stop. So they had 12 children, but one died young, and then I've had other siblings to transition, and there are 9 of us left.
Okay, that's a wonderful story. But she didn't go back and ask, did she?
No, no, she didn't. No, she didn't.
Okay. Okay.
So they raised 7 boys and 4 girls.
Oh wow, that's amazing. So, did your parents ever tell you anything specific about the day you were born?
No, they didn't.
Okay.
They didn't.
Okay. And so why were you given the name Glenda? And it's what, Glenda Ray?
Well, actually, I don't know why I was given Glenda, but my mother's name was Gladys Vanola Johnny Ray Alexander Wood.
Okay.
And I was named Ray after my mother. I don't know who the Glenda was for, but I was named Ray after my mother. And then I turned around and named my granddaughter, one of her names is Ray.
Oh, wow.
So.
Wow.
And it's R-A-Y, not R-A-E.
Oh, okay.
It's R-A-Y.
Okay, because typically, or someone being related to a lady, we would say R-A-E, right? Take it for granted.
Right.
But it's R-A-Y. Okay.
So back then the people, women had men name and men. Well, my mother was born in 1921.
Okay.
And then sometimes, like a man could be called Carol, and my mother, part of her name was Johnny Ray.
Oh.
Johnny, a man's name is Ray, because she was the first grandchild on the side, so everybody wanted to name her. So she was named, part of her name was Johnny Ray, so that's why my name was R-A-Y.
And so, and the thing I like about it is they didn't let any, norms, I guess I would say, or any traditions keep them from naming her like they wanted to name her. So say her name again, please. Say it again.
Her name was Gladys Manola Johnny Ray Alexander Williams.
Wow. Do you think that's a record?
No, my granddaughter's name is Zaquana Margarita Marty Ray Maldonado Goodson.
Wow, okay. Hey, no limits, huh? That's wonderful. You know, I'm the kind of person, I'm the kind of person, I don't like to be limited. Well, you know me. I believe in doing what you feel you want to do and how you want to do it. Yes.
Exactly.
Oh, this is wonderful. And we're just only on the third question. Okay. Now tell us, please, about the kind of house you lived in, that you grew up in. Did you have your own bedroom?
My father, when they relocated from Waxahachie, Texas, to Dallas, because God called him. Actually, it wasn't from there directly. He was assistant pastor in Waxahachie who passed the name of Jeff Lee, Church Valley Christ.
Okay.
Then he went to Fort Worth, Texas, and was assistant pastor to Elder Thomas, who was the father, I believe, of the late Bishop Medea Thomas.
Okay. Okay.
And then God called him to 5 Mile. They bought a 3-room house. I didn't say 3 bedrooms.
Okay.
They bought a 3-room house.
Okay.
Back then, what we called 5 Mile, it was called Carver Heights Addition, but they called it 5 Mile, and it was rural.
Okay.
There were hardly any houses out there. Our house was next to the woods. We didn't have running water. My father dug a well, but he built a bathroom and put a tub in, but we had to, what we call, tote the water. And we had to tote the water to wash dishes, tote the water to mop, tote the water to bathe. Before he did that, we bathed in a 10 number 3 tub.
Okay. That was the big one, wasn't it?
But it was a 3-room house with no running water. Then, as they had all the children, my father added a room for the boys, so all 6 boys stayed in the same room. He had a huge room. And we would have to, he would get nails and wood, and the nails would be crooked. So one of our chores was to hammer the nails into straight nails. And he built that room. And then he built, then the girls, all stayed in one room. And then my mother and father had a room, but my father built those rooms.
Oh.
And we had chickens.
Okay.
We had, my mother, she had all those children, so she had a huge garden with, like potatoes and okra and tomatoes and what we call snap beans. And then she would can those. And then my father had a garden, an orchard with peaches and plums and pears and strawberries.
Wow.
And we would have to get those apples and oranges, and we had an outhouse. Like I said, we didn't have running water in the house. It seemed like those peaches over near the outhouse were the best. They had more fertilizer.
Right. That's what I was going to say. Seeping.
The outhouse was right next to the
orchard,
but it seemed like the nutrients birds from the fertilizer.
The ran deep, huh? Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
And so the girls had a room eventually, and the boys had their room. Okay, okay,
Right.
okay.
And we didn't have to stay on pallets. We didn't have to sleep on pallets.
You did not?
When the boys, we didn't. Now, we slept on pallets on the front porch. We had a screen front porch.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the summers, we would sleep on pallets.
Uh-huh.
And they would have some, like, burnt cloth
Uh-huh.
in a barrel so that the mosquitoes wouldn't eat us up.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but no, we had a room then, and we didn't have to sleep on pallets anymore.
All right. So now we've already gone. You had your siblings, and then so what kind of a neighborhood? You touched on that. You said you were out in 5 Mile, and it was like
Right.
in the country, right?
Right. Back then, 5 Mile was considered the country.
Uh-huh.
Because we had, we had chickens.
Mm-hmm.
People had pigs, and
Mm-hmm.
it was just rural back then.
Mm-hmm.
It was Dallas. It was in Dallas,
Uh-huh.
but it was rural part of Dallas.
Yes. And 5 Mile, that's where the church is now, right? Isn't that 5 Mile?
I'm sorry.
Isn't 5 Mile where the church is?
5 Mile, yeah.
Uh-huh.
But on the flats for the county, it's called Carbon Heights Addition.
Okay.
But that's just, it's 5 Mile, but everybody calls it 5 Mile. Because the 5 Mile Creek runs behind.
Oh, okay.
So they would just call it, yeah.
Okay. Wonderful.
And the neighborhood, we had a great neighborhood. My father was a preacher,
Mm-hmm.
and so people respected him. My father he was a construction worker.
Uh-huh.
My father was the child of the Depression,
Okay.
so he had to stop school. He was a brilliant man.
Uh-huh.
I mean, in any other time, in any other country maybe where there was more freedom, my father probably would have been a vice president or a banker. He was brilliant.
Yes.
But my father left school early,
Mm-hmm.
and so he worked construction. And he would tell us, he'd say, I want y'all to get an education. He said, because one day, people who even work in construction are going to have a high school diploma. And I want y'all to but he worked construction, but because back then construction workers couldn't work during the rainy season or the winter,
Mm-hmm.
then he had a paper route.
Okay.
And he would throw paper.
Wow.
And so he was known throughout the community. And he was also known as a leader in the community.
Okay.
And so we had that respect. They started the church with several members,
Mm-hmm.
and the church eventually grew. The community people were very, in most black communities, I can't speak to white communities because I didn't grow up in a white community,
Mm-hmm.
but I know in black communities there was a communal feeling of kinship.
Uh-huh.
Like you may not have been biologically related, but it seemed to be that you were in that kinship network.
Yes.
For example, anybody could chastise anybody's children if they were
Mm-hmm.
doing wrong.
Mm-hmm.
If there was a need, like my mother would say, go tell Emma I need some butter.
Mm-hmm.
Or Miss Johnson would say, go tell so-and-so I need some sugar. Does she have a cup of sugar? And so it was very community-oriented. Even though my father was a holiness preacher,
Mm-hmm.
back then they didn't really. Now, first it was hostile toward a Pentecostal church, like holiness church,
Mm-hmm.
coming in the community. But one of his dearest friends was Reverend Tyler Carter, and he was the pastor of Carbon Heights Baptist Church.
Okay.
And Reverend Carter, matter of fact, he's the one that sold my dad the church that we're in now.
Mm-hmm.
When other Baptist ministers wanted it, he said my father had faith and he wanted him to have a church. So we all got along. We would visit Carbon Heights, and most of the people got along. Even the drunks,
Uh-huh.
when they would, they would pass by, they would have their beer.
Yeah.
They had that kind of respect. Then we had a sense of belonging. We had a sense that even some of our teachers, they built a across the 5 Mile, there's a community called Highland Hills.
Uh-huh.
And when they built that, you know, a lot of the teachers stayed in your community. A lot of, we had three, in 5 Mile, we had three grocery stores.
Wow.
And if you didn't have the money, Mama would say, "Go tell Mr. Sweet, you know, I need whatever."
Mm-hmm.
White bread was a treat, so you didn't buy that much white bread. You cooked all bread.
Uh-huh.
But you know, if they were short, Mr. Sweet would give them credit, and they, you know, wouldn't harass. There was a great childhood, a great neighborhood.
Oh, that's all.
And when my mom passed, a lot of those, because my mom, by her being the pastor's wife, she would have sunshine band in her backyard.
Oh, wow.
And she would have cookies and Kool-Aid for the children. She had vacation Bible school. So when she passed, a lot of the children came to her funeral because they remembered that was the kind of bond. We had a special bond in 5 Mile.
Yes.
We had a real special bond.
And that means so much. That means so much because, okay, I'm going to go on because I don't want to get to talking because we're just on number 4 or 5. So you've talked about your parents, and of course we know they were holy people, and they did get along. But Glenda, please tell me about that time. I try to tell this sometimes, you know, to just certain people. You remember when you were on the way to, was it Memphis that time? And
my mother had the highest respect for my dad. When she met him at 18, they got married in 6 weeks. But he was a YPWW teacher. I never heard my mother call my father Joseph, Joe. He always called him Brother Williams.
mm-hmm.
And she had that kind of respect for my dad, and she taught us to, you know, respect men and respect each other. So she was just, you know my mother, just a sweet,
yes,
plain, vanilla, sanctified woman.
yes.
But one day, we were on our way to Memphis, Tennessee for the convocation. I had, that was before my husband started going to Memphis. And I had been up all night, but when I go out, you know, iron up all the things and make them stew so they have something to eat, him and my son. And I've been up to 4 o'clock that morning, like 3 or 4 that morning, doing everything I need to do. And I got the back seat to go to sleep. And then after I slept for a while, I was going to drive. Well, my mom said, Glenda Ray, wake up. We're lost. And I said, and you know how you're so tired, you're punch drunk.
Yes, yes.
And I couldn't get my bearings. And finally, I sat up and I said, this looks like the WFAA building. You know, the Below building.
Yeah.
In downtown Dallas. and so she said, yeah. So I got up and I'm saying, Lord, please help me not to go to sleep driving. And so my dad was sitting over there quiet, and my mom, and she got in the back seat, she was quiet. And we drove on, and I'm just kind of percolating because I'm saying, oh, I'm so sleepy, and what's going on? So she said, your daddy kept on trying to tell me how to drive. She said that he got me confused. And I said, oh. And so when we left Texarkana, and we were going in near Benton, Arkansas, he said, go this way. And she said, shut up, brother. I never heard her raise her voice to my dad before. And you know what? Like, if you knew my dad, you'd know he was this stern, no nonsense guy. But he shut up. My siblings gonna get me for telling the story online.
And what did you say? Didn't you say I'm gonna see how this in your mind? What were you saying?
I said, yeah, I'm gonna see how this thing play out. But this Jew
So that is, I love it.
Your parents have disagreements because we're all just human.
Yes.
But they would really take their disagreements into their room.
Right.
And we might hear something say, bumble, 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 but they didn't play it out in front of the children.
Right.
You know?
Uh-huh.
So I said, it's juicy. I've never heard this before.
I love that story. I love it. Because we know.
So when we got to the room, it was so funny. So actually, they hardly talked just necessary talk while we were on that 8-hour trip.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we got to the room, we were going to church at night, and my dad was going to stay in and get some rest because, as I said, he worked in drugs until he was no longer bivocational.
Mm-hmm.
But so my mom, so we got ready, we took our showers, we rested, got something to eat, got ready. And my mom kept on, and she would like to be in church on time. And she kept on fiddling around and fiddling around. I'm saying, what's going on? And finally she said, Brother William, she was so sweet. She said, I can't go to church until I repent.
Oh.
And she said, I shouldn't have raised my voice to you. And I said to myself, that's so sweet.
Oh, yes.
I said, but I can wait till I get home to tell my brothers and sisters that I heard Mama raise her voice today.
And he complied, huh?
Yeah.
He shocked him, I'm pretty sure. Like Elder, yes, like Elder Alexander said, shocked out his socks, huh? That is so. Thank you for telling that. I really like that. I really like that story because I know Mother Williams, and I think I had been in your dad's company twice, like in a worship. I think once when they when Open Door went to Denison, and then once we came down here while he was pastoring. So
right.
Okay, so that is and of course your parents they were strict to a point. Right.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now yes they were, because traditionally in the Holiness Church there were some things you did and did not do.
Mm-hmm.
And you could from, if you lived in Texas, you did or did do things that you lived in California.
Mm-hmm.
So they had like minding the same things. But when I hear people, I'm not offended when I hear people say this, but it took me pause because they said they couldn't play marbles because the Bible said marble not. And
right.
Making a joke. We didn't have that experience. Our church had a softball team. This was in the 50s and 60s.
Okay.
Deacon Harold Holly was our softball coach, and I don't think there may have not been other Church of God in Christ, but we would play, the Methodist and, the Baptist.
Uh-huh.
There was a league, a church league back then.
Okay.
And so we had a softball team. Did the girls wear their skirts to play? Yes, we did, because there was a rule that, we might have not been safe, but my parents said, you don't look like this. And so we didn't wear slacks. But we did play ball. My mother played ball with us in front of our house. She taught us how to play jacks. She taught us how to, just do, because they had all these kids, and kids need that an outlet,
yes.
For their sources. So we had, played marbles. The girls and boys played marble. You had your cat eyes, and you had your honky monk. And so when people say they kind of rebelling against the church because they couldn't do anything, now we did not go to the dances at school.
Uh-huh.
They did not allow that.
Okay.
But we went anyway because once we were at school, we would sneak and do things like that. But they didn't let us go to dances. They were strict. What my father was really concerned about when we were growing up is we get the word in us.
Yes.
Even if we weren't saved, they in the sunshine band, as I said, my mother was a sunshine band leader.
Yes.
Just get the word.
Yes.
In us, and so they would have a compass. And I'm not going to get off on this, but a lot of things that are happening sometime today is the children don't have a moral compass.
Yes. Yes.
And so, and then if something went wrong in the school, my father would go to
What happened? What happened? Okay, there you are.
Somebody called me.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank you for that. And your family's source of income, you said your dad was a construction worker. He had a paper route.
A paper route.
And Mother Williams was a homemaker, right?
She was a homemaker, but she would, my mom would, if need be, she would like do domestic work.
Yes.
Yeah, she would clean. And I remember one time, she had two ladies she would work for. One was named Mrs. Hartle, and one was named Mrs. Kelly. And so one time I was, and then they, the bees were friends, and then they would do like clean up office buildings, like things like that to provide supplemental income. But I remember that I went to, I understood what my mother and father was saying because I went to one of the ladies' house and I was cleaning the bathtub. And there was so much shed hair. I'm going to say this politely.
Okay.
There was so much shed hair in the bathtub. This made me kind of sick in my stomach.
Wow.
Cleaning that bathtub.
Wow. And
then one of the little boys came in because he had been mowing the lawn and there was some bees. He got around some bees, and then the lady came and asked my mom, could I go out there and see about the bees? And my mom said no.
Wow.
And then that, I made up my mind, I said, because remember back then, the avenues for opportunities for black women were like a teacher in the black school, maybe some nurses, professional type. But that day, I remember distinctly making up my mind and saying, I'm going to get an education because I will not be cleaning up any white person's house
and going out there getting bit by bees for them, huh?
Right. Because even as a child of 12, I thought that was just ridiculous.
Right.
If somebody would, if they stung him, I heard just like he would hurt.
Right.
You know.
It's amazing.
So.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So how did your family, and you did touch on this a little bit, how did your family compare to other families in the neighborhood, the community? Were you richer, poorer, or the same, around the same? Or did you even think about anything like that?
Actually, we didn't have running water. The people on top of the hill had running water, but they had the lines where we were, they didn't have running water. But actually, I know this may be a cliche, but we didn't really know we were poor because everybody was kind of in the same predicament in our neighborhood. So as far as looking at it saying, oh boy, we are so poor, we didn't even look at it like that. Didn't even think about it.
I understand that. I certainly do. So were you, your grandparents, were you privileged to have a relationship with your grandparents?
Yes, my grandfather was Reed Alexander, and my grandmother was Edna Alexander. That's my mother's, and then my father's mother was Fanny Anderson Williams. So my grandmother died when we were pretty young, and my other grandmother, my father's mother, we call her my Fanny, and my Fanny died when we were up. We were up, so I remember my grandfather and I guess my grandparents very well.
Okay, okay. And that really means a lot too when you can look back and say, well, yeah, I knew
It
my
does.
grandparents. Because some people don't have that privilege. So what are some of your fondest memories of your childhood? Fondest.
Um, my fondest memories of my childhood, uh, is tied with Christmas, how we would go out, and like I said, we didn't have a lot of money, but the decorations like would be popcorn. I don't know if you know about that, but
Mm-hmm.
you pop popcorn, then you put it on the tree.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And just that going, the boys would go and cut down because I said our house was next to the woods.
Mm-hmm.
So there were a lot of, fir trees there, and so the boys would go out. It would snow more back then than it does now.
Mm-hmm.
And they would go out and cut the tree, and then we would just have fun. That was one of my fondest Christmas. And we didn't have a lot of toys. We got kind of necessities. Like we'd get our doll,
Mm-hmm.
boy get maybe a cap gun or whatever. But
Uh-huh.
most of the things we got were necessary things for Christmas.
Okay. Well, all right. So, did you have pets?
Yes, yeah, they had a cat. We called it Tom.
Tom cat.
Get it, Tom cat.
Uh-huh. Yes. But
But I laugh because, like I said, we didn't have running water, so they call it harvesting water now.
uh-huh.
But back there, we just had barrels where you catch the water in.
Yes.
And so we had this barrel. So my older sister Vicky, she always loved animals. I said they had a cat. I don't. Maybe then I don't deal with animals. But Vicky loved animals, all kind of animals. And her and her good friend Barbara Holmes, one time they found, because we lived next to the woods, so they would, have to be careful for snakes, and then the snakes would like to get in the hen house,
Mm-hmm.
and they had to, care for rats.
Mm-hmm.
And so then one time, there was a rat had some babies. I laughed when they were trying to hide the baby rat for pets. So some of the family members had an affinity for pets.
Okay. Wow, that is so neat. Okay, and your schools.